What's up, traders? Happy new month. It is December 2025. We're 1 month away from 2026. All right. One thing I want to say, guys, is be careful this month. For these next 2 weeks, it's going to be your best opportunity, your best chance to, take as much trades as you can. If you are trying to pass some funded accounts, or I'm sorry, you're trying to pass some evals, get those eval pass within those next 2 weeks. Later in the year, as far as like the last week of December, usually price action is just trash. Okay. Volatility is not there. So just be careful as we get onto this month. So make sure you're locked in at the beginning of this month as much as possible. All right. Now, let's get it straight into it. It's December 1st. We're almost here in 2026. This is the trade. It's the first trade of the month that I've taken. It was a winning trade. And I'm going to go ahead and break down that trade for you guys here in a second. Now, just to go into TradeZella here, if you guys don't have TradeZella, get TradeZella. It's the best trading journal that I've ever used. Okay. But no, seriously, it does help. But there's other opportunities as well. If you want to make like what is it, Excel sheet. I used to do an Excel sheet, but honestly, TradeZella is better because I can just import my trades. So that's why. But if you want to save money and do a Excel sheet, then yeah, I guess you can do that. But here was my bias for the day. We're inside of a daily BISI, and on a higher time frames perspective, I was still bullish on the market, but this is just the beginning of my bias. Click on here real quick just to show you guys here. There's that bias right there. And it's basically what I was looking for. I was looking at these external lows. I was looking at this as our highest probability area of liquidity, as you can see. And then down here, if the market was to show bearish pushes to the downside, then down there would be our next area that I would look for. All right, so that was the actual bias. Now, let's get straight into the trade and explain why I took the trade that I took. So let me go ahead and delete this real quick. Boom, 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 boom. And let's just look at pure price action. All right. Let's get to the nitty gritty of it all. All right. So the market opened here. Okay. Take on that. Boom. All right. The market opened right here. Okay. Market opened right here. We went higher. We took out some of these highs. And like I said, this was our main key liquidity point that I was looking for at first. This was the first area that I was looking for the market to come into. So honestly, I was expecting us to come a little bit higher, sweep these highs, and then we would take some shorts to the downside. But that's not what happened. All right, let's just forget about that. Here's what actually happened. The market actually created it, and we created like a generational SMT here at these lows. I want you guys to pay attention to these 745, 749 lows. See, the market went lower. We swept these lows. And on ES here, what I want you to pay attention to is you can see market never went anywhere near these 749, 745 lows. Okay, right? Market never came anywhere near here. We'd even go underneath this simple low right here. So this was a crazy SMT from this low to about that low right there. This was a crazy SMT, right? And you can see it right here from this low to this low here. You can see it. The reason why I say that is because I actually missed that trade. I don't have the seconds time frames on TradingView, but there is a 30-second in here. Okay, there's a 30-second inverse in here. There is a 30-second entry in here if you're trading the second time frames. Now, another reason why I didn't take this trade is I don't usually take second time frames inversions. Okay, it's not something I've back tested. It's not something I've taken a lot. I rarely take those. I'm usually waiting for at least a 1 minute inversion. So if you did get the 30-second, great job. If you didn't, then you'll be okay. All right, life goes on. Okay, there was more opportunities today if you would have been patient. So here's the next opportunity for a buying trade today. So as the market went higher now, right, after we swept this low, we got this crazy move towards the upside. Now, as this market was going higher, what am I paying attention to? I'm paying attention to these gaps, 5-minute gaps right here. I'm paying attention to this 5-minute gap right here. Okay, boom, that 5-minute gap right here. And all I'm looking for is bullish impulses to the upside. Now, this 5-minute gap here is higher probability than this 5-minute gap because this 5-minute gap is right at a liquidity point. So basically, we've already reached an objective. So when the market reaches an objective, most likely it's going to retrace, especially after this large move. So that's why this 5-minute is higher probability than this one. All right, and this one isn't more in discount. Okay, so another thing we got to pay attention to as well is the 15-minute. All right, and I'm gonna zoom in here so you guys can see this. You can see we have a nice 15-minute gap right here. Boom, nice 15-minute gap. And this 15-minute gap is very important. Why? Because look how the market is still rejecting off of this gap. Look how the market is still rejecting off of this gap. The market is maintaining bullish order flow because we are respecting this impulsive move that created this imbalance of sellers. Once the market got inside of here, buyers are still willing to take this market higher. You can see we are failing to close beneath this 15-minute. And this is the reason why I was looking for longs still. So now when we go to the 5-minute time frame, you can see the 5-minute time frame, we actually dipped underneath this 15-minute, but we didn't close on the 15-minute time frame. Okay, so it's very important. All right, we didn't close on the 15-minute time frame, so this is why this area is still valid. But this area is also valid. This 5-minute is also valid. You can see, look at the bodies. Even though we wicked underneath that 5-minute, we did not close underneath this, so we're still respecting it. And this is actually where I ended up taking my trade. So let's zoom into here and let's go a little bit more deeper. All right, so boom. So now the market comes down into this 15-minute. Another thing I want you guys to pay attention to is right here, this low, right here. Boom, right? You can see that, that's 945 low. Let's go to ES. And ES still has these markings on here. What do we see? 945 low, right? So what? We have another SMT, guys, at this 945 low. So boom, SMT there. Boom, SMT there. So what does that tell us? That's just showing me that, telling me that NQ is on a, that NQ has much more buying pressure than ES, and that ES is manipulating while NQ is leading. So if NQ is leading, I'm going to expect this market to continue higher because ES is manipulating, and that means that NQ does not need to manipulate down here. Okay, so after that, we're tapping into a 5-minute unfilled, right? So we have an SMT and we're respecting a 15-minute, right? This 15-minute that I showed you guys, that we were respecting it on the 15-minute time frame, and we're tapping into a 5-minute that we are also respecting, right? So we're respecting bullish areas and we have a bullish divergence. All we need is a confirmation to enter into a trade, right? To take a long opportunity. So that doesn't happen until we get that impulsive move that actually shows buyers getting into the market. So this is where I actually executed my trade. You guys can see this manipulation right here that goes lower and the market forms these two bearish gaps. We have one candle that closes above these two bearish gaps. Once I seen that, that's where I executed, right? This is my entry model. I execute off of inversions, right? Off of prominent areas. So once I seen that, we entered here, stop loss went underneath somewhere around here, right? Just covering this whole impulsive move. And my target was honestly a 1 to 2 above these highs right here. So my entry could have been a little bit more higher. It probably was like right here, stop loss like right there, because my 1 to 2 was a little bit above this high. So around here was my target. Another reason why this was my target is because there was a 15-minute imbalance sitting up here as well. So I knew the market would potentially reject from there, which it did, and we end up going lower just to come back higher again. So that was honestly the trade. That was the only trade that I took today. Honestly, guys, like I said, the other best trade of the day was down here off of those seconds time frames once we had swept this low. All right, so, and I mean, another confluence for this trade as well, if you're just using our equilibrium, you can draw your fibs from this low to this high right here, and look where the market comes into, right into the 50%, which means we do come into equilibrium of this impulsive push. So that's another confluence, right? This was just a very high probability trade, guys. Hopefully you guys were able to catch this. And that was pretty much it. So do not forget to join the Discord, because I did send out my bias. Let me just pull up the Discord here for you guys. I did send out my bias before in the morning, right? I send out my bias every morning before market open. So I did send out my bias here. So you don't have to wait until you see my video to see, you know, what I'm looking for. All right, join the Discord is free. There's a free link in the description. I will see you guys in the next trade. Please let me know if you enjoy these videos, if I should keep doing these videos. If you want more breakdowns or you want to see more live trading, please let me know. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.